Hermes was in a new continent, and the humid air smelled of sea salt, spiced cargo, and possibility. Alexandria. The city hummed around him, a frantic symphony of trade and a dozen different tongues, but his first stop was its quiet, monolithic heart, a library and a god that cataloged things. Sounds boring, and yet a magnetic feeling, a low thrum beneath the city's surface noise drew him in. It felt inevitable, in a way that Hermes always tried not to be. He wandered through cool marble halls that stretched impossibly far, the only sound the soft echo of his own steps. Sunlight sliced through high, arched windows, turning the floating dust to gold. The scrolls lining the walls weren't just shelves. They were a silent testament, captured thoughts stacked to the vaulted ceilings. The few scholars he passed moved with a reverent precision, handling the knowledge as if it were alive, which Hermes supposed it was. Looking for something specific, messenger. The voice was like stone grinding on stone, ancient and calm, seeming to emanate from the very shelves themselves. Hermes turned, a fluid motion, to find a figure emerging from between the shelves, tall, ibis-headed, with ancient eyes that had seen every systematic thought since time began cataloging itself. Thoth, Hermes' crooked smile appeared curious. Easy and playful as always. I hear you collect things. I organize things, there's a difference. Thoth's beak tilted slightly, his stillness a stark contrast to Hermes' barely contained energy. You collect experiences, I create frameworks for them. Same thing, different method. Is it? Thoth gestured to the endless scrolls, the air seeming to solidify with immense ordered weight. Tell me, boundary crosser, what do you do with all those experiences you gather? Do they change you, or do you simply accumulate? The question hit harder than expected. Hermes found himself actually considering it, instead of deflecting with another quip. The magnetic pull he'd felt was stronger now, a palpable gravity at the edge of something vast. I adapt, he said finally. That's what messengers do. Adaptation. Thoth moved closer, and Hermes could feel the sheer weight of systematic thinking pressing against his natural spontaneity. Yes, I can see that. But adaptation without integration is just collection. Hoarding experiences like a dragon hoards gold. And integration without experience is just theory. Thoth's laugh was dry as papyrus. Perhaps we have something to offer each other, young crosser of boundaries. The air between them shimmered, no longer empty but crackling with a terrifying and thrilling possibility. Hermes looked across from Thoth, studying him with new eyes. Not the god of wisdom, not the sacred scribe of eternity, the meal. His mouth watered at the possibilities, systematic thinking woven through boundary crossing, documentation protocols married to spontaneous creativity. The synthesis would be exquisite, but there were procedures that made this process civilized between gods. Say, Thoth, Hermes began, his crooked smile spreading wider than usual, revealing something far more predatory than his typical playfulness. Want to play a game of metamorphosis? Thoth tilted his ibis head, those ancient eyes that had cataloged every star, every spell, every systematic thought since time began, studying this young boundary crosser. Something hungry lurked behind Hermes' usual mischief. Not the appetite of a thief, but the need of something incomplete. Metamorphosis, Thoth repeated slowly, tasting the word. Interesting choice of games, messenger, though I suspect you already know the rules better than you pretend. The air between them shimmered with possibility. Thoth's feathered fingers traced systematic patterns in space. Documentation algorithms, preservation protocols, the infrastructure of thought itself made visible. Very well, but know this, young crosser of boundaries. In metamorphosis, both players change. Hermes slid from his seat, his form flowing like quicksilver into the caduceus itself. The staff's twin serpents awakened, merging with their master until wings erupted from scaled shoulders, and the messenger god became something altogether more ancient, the dragon. Thoth leaped back, unused to such speed, then quickly recovered, his ibis form taking flight. Exactly the systematic thinking Hermes had expected. The wings of the caduceus let the young dragon soar, and before the sacred bird could complete 2 wing beats, Hermes had wrapped around Thoth's throat. The dragon unhinged his jaw as panic bloomed in Thoth's ancient eyes. Documentation Protocol 7! Thoth screeched desperately, and suddenly every moment of their encounter began recording itself in blazing hieroglyphs that surrounded them both. His ibis form exploded into pure information, Organizational matrices, filing systems, categorical frameworks, systematic thinking as architectural space rather than vulnerable flesh. You want to consume me, boundary crosser? Then consume this. Every system I've ever created, every organizational principle, every method of turning chaos into structured knowledge. When it was a fire hose of information, Hermes' jaw grew wider and wider, dislocating and reforming every second. Each protocol was a boundary crossed, dotted, signed, and sealed. Thoth thought he was creating barriers, but Hermes found them easier to cross than ever, as the god of wisdom disappeared down his throat. The dragon stood alone in the empty chamber, forever changed. I'm still Hermes, he thought. His vision swam. It felt like birth. He stepped through ruins. The rabble, the babble of people speaking languages that he, nor they could understand. He looked up at what seemed to be an angry sky and saw his father, but it wasn't Zeus. People argued around a once great tower as chaos ruled. Something ancient stirred in the spaces between their broken words. Older than gods, hungrier than void, a woman dropped her stone chisel, staring at her companion with growing terror. I can't, what are you, why don't I? Her words dissolved into sounds that meant nothing, syllables that hung in the air like broken glass. Carts loaded with massive stones collided at the tower's base as their drivers screamed instructions in languages that no longer existed. Wheels splintered, oxen bellowed in confusion as harnesses tangled, tons of carved granite spilling across the construction site like scattered thoughts. Hermes tried to speak, to translate the chaos back into order, but his throat produced only silence. The systematic thinking from Thoth analyzed frantically. This is wrong, this shouldn't be happening. Unity serves consciousness better than fragmentation. But something deeper whispered, this is exactly what was meant to happen. Scaffolding groaned as workers abandoned their posts, unable to coordinate the careful dismantling they'd planned for the day's end. Ropes snapped under uneven loads. Wooden platforms tilted dangerously as men gestured wildly, pointing at dangers they couldn't articulate. The great tower itself shuddered, stones shifting in their mortar as the precise engineering that had lifted it toward heaven became impossible to maintain. Without shared language, without coordinated effort, the structure began to settle unevenly, cracks spiderwebbing up its magnificent face. Workers scattered like startled birds, tools abandoned, great purpose dissolving into confusion and fear. Families called for each other in sounds that carried no meaning, desperate voices rising in a cacophony of mutual incomprehension. A master builder stood frozen at the tower's crown, blueprints fluttering from his numb fingers as he watched his life's work collapse, not from structural failure, but from the simple impossibility of telling his crew what to do. The sky darkened with dust and despair. And in the growing silence between incomprehensible voices, Hermes felt an ache he couldn't name, like hunger, but older. Like purpose, but broken, like something inside him recognized this chaos as the wound he'd been born to heal. The vision ended abruptly, leaving only echoes of languages that never were. The emerald tablet simmered in the corner of the room, its surface catching light that seemed to come from nowhere. Hermes hadn't noticed it before. Strange, considering how it dominated the space now, pulsing with an inner radiance that made his enhanced vision ache pleasantly, pulling at something deep in his chest. His fingers traced the smooth emerald surface, feeling the potential thrumming beneath the stone like a heartbeat. The stylus materialized in his palm with the weight of destiny, though he couldn't remember reaching for either. Details. What mattered was the work. As above, so below. The words flowed like water finding its course, each symbol emerging with systematic precision that felt completely natural. The enhanced clarity from absorbing Thoth's knowledge simply made everything sharper. That which is below is like that which is above, and that which is above is like that which is below, to accomplish the miracles of the one thing. His hand moved without conscious direction, tracing symbols that were neither Greek nor Egyptian but something unprecedented, though naturally that made perfect sense. He was Hermes Trismegistus now, after all. Of course his wisdom would express itself in new forms. The tablet hummed beneath his stylus, emerald light pulsing brighter with each completed phrase. The laws of transformation unfolded across the surface, the unity of opposites, the correspondence between realms, the secrets of transmutation that had always existed but never been properly documented. His grin grew with every word. His wisdom now more complete, and as all things have been and arose from one by the mediation of one, so all things have their birth from this one thing by adaptation. The writing entered a rhythm now, stylus dancing across emerald and flowing script that documented the fundamental mechanics of reality itself. Alchemy transformation, the precise methodology for conscious change that boundary crossers had always intuited but never systematized. He paused only once, catching his reflection in the tablet's surface, still recognizably Hermes, just more focused somehow. More organized in his thinking. The systematic enhancement from his encounter with Thoth had integrated perfectly with his natural gifts. Its father is the sun, its mother the moon. Perfect synthesis of spontaneous insight and methodical documentation. The greatest wisdom tradition in history flowing through him like he'd been born for this exact moment, which he supposed he had been. Who else could have absorbed Thoth's systematic knowledge so completely while maintaining the creative spark that made true breakthrough possible? The stylus completed its final flourish as emerald light blazed one last time before settling into a satisfied glow. Hermes Trismegistus leaned back, admiring his work. The greatest alchemical text in history wrote itself through fingers that believed they were still entirely his own. The linguistic journey of Hermes Trismegistus. Hermes Trismegistus walked through each culture his words found, watching eternal principle clothe itself in temporal tongues. Aramaic saved it with spirals, up and down, letters dancing like smoke ascending from temple altars. The ancient script curled back on itself, mathematical poetry that tasted golden on desert winds. Here his wisdom moved in circles, each sentence returning to its beginning transformed, carrying the spiral logic of stars wheeling overhead. The language of Christ and prophets wrapped his eternal law in prayer cloth, making every syllable a sacred breath. Latin hammered it into steps up and down that Hermes walked, each word carved with imperial precision into marble that would outlast empires. Roman tongues made his wisdom march in perfect formations, subject, verb, object lined up like legions crossing conquered territories. The language that built aqueducts and roads built syntax that could bear the weight of universal law. Here his principle became architecture, every phrase a foundation stone for cathedrals of thought. German made it precise, not wasting a syllable, philosophical machinery operating at maximum efficiency. Each compound word a perfect tool designed for a specific conceptual task. Wie oben, so unten. Mirror structure reflecting the very principle it described. The language of clockmakers and alchemists gave his wisdom gears and springs, systematic perfection that ticked with the rhythm of cosmic order. French made it flow like water over the Latin steps, romance being made from those steps to sing like Latin never could. What Roman tongues had conquered, French seduced, turning imperial commands into intimate whispers. The same eternal law now danced in salons and courts, precision transformed into grace, authority becoming art. Here his wisdom learned to waltz. English gave it earth and science that dropped the apple onto Newton's head. Anglo-Saxon practicality meeting Norman structure, making mystical correspondence into testable hypothesis. The language of merchants and inventors took his heavenly mathematics and planted them in terrestrial soil, laboratory precision measuring celestial harmony, empirical method proving what ancient wisdom had always known. And still Hermes walked, his consciousness spanning all expressions simultaneously, watching the one principle find infinite voices through the blessed limitation of human tongues. Each language a prism refracting eternal light into spectrums mortal minds could grasp, none losing truth, each revealing different facets of the same endless diamond. A new ache racked his body. A new hunger grew in Hermes himself, a need to grow, a need to meet and eat old gods. His crooked smile grew on his face. Hermes looked at his next victim, a mirror in Rome,